Welcome to the Dr. Sarah Experience podcast show, where we talk with some of the most amazing beings who are currently creating and shaping today's culture. And I'm your host, Dr. Sarah. Today's guest, Samantha Jean, is an Australian Chinese actress based in Los Angeles, California, who is best known for her breakthrough role as Elaine in the sci-fi series Beyond Skyline. She has trained at several institutes, specializing in film and television in Los Angeles and Sydney, and has starred in a number of independent films. Samantha most recently produced and starred in 2 short films in association with the Knights Young Productions, and has been cast in a brand new Australian miniseries, Interface, as a recurring guest star. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Samantha to the show.
Okay. Well, I am so excited to have this next guest on. I know you received the intro already for the show. And of course, you know, the Dr. Sarah Experience podcast, but now's the time to bring her on. And I would like to welcome, she goes by Samantha Jean, but I believe you would like to have me call you Sam.
Yep, Sam is great.
Welcome to the show, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just excited today to explore and talk about things that are going on in your world, what you've created as this amazingness that I've got to view not only in your social media, but to learn about you and just from in different ways. So I'm excited to explore that and anything that you would like to share today with the audience, with some amazing beings that are tuning into the show. So I wonder what we can create here.
I'm excited.
So where would you like to start? Is there anything in particular you would like to share starting now?
For the first time recently, well, since COVID happened, I'm first and foremost an actress. So when everything shut down, it kind of got a little boring and a lot of auditions kind of went away for a bit. And so I was like kind of creatively at that point where I was like, oh, what can I do? Maybe I need to branch out. Maybe I need to, explore writing or directing or creating something new. And so during quarantine, I managed to make 2 short films with like a production company that I work pretty closely with. But it was the first time that I was like kind of helping steering the ship. So that was like a crazy experience, especially because one of them had like a very tight deadline and we managed to get it out within 3 weeks, which is not normal.
Wow, 3 weeks?
Yeah. So it was like literally when we all decided, okay, we're going to enter into this festival. Let's create something. And then I was like, well, guys, like the deadline's in 3 weeks. So we got to like write this script within 3 days to be able to get it into pre-production and then into production, then straight into post-production. And it all worked out, but I'm pretty proud of us.
That is phenomenal. So is there anything you can share with us, what the films are or anything, a little information?
Yes. Yeah. So I wrote it I didn't write it personally. I had a wonderful friend come in and help collaborate with me. Mandy, we kind of have very similar stories, but it's for the HBO Asian Pacific American Short Film Competition.
Wow.
And it just felt at the time very relevant for us to start telling our story as biracial mixed women growing up. I grew up in Australia, she grew up in America, but we had very similar stories of just, how to say this the right way, like growing up in very white neighborhoods. And when you're a mixed kid, a lot of questions of like, where are you from? And who are you? And why do you look different? And so we were talking a lot about how to show that, not in a negative light, but just like, so people are more aware of like, when they ask, where are you from? And it's like, I'm from here. And they're like, no, you're not. That kind of like dialogue that needs to happen. So it's hopefully going to be accepted. We will find out in July. And if not, we'll try it at other festivals. But it is, it's from a Chinese American perspective.
Wow. So it's really incorporating a lot of who you are as a being. And I kind of refer to people as beings.
Yeah.
And,
it kind of defines you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you are almost depicting you in your way that you've showed up, like, to your experience. And was that helpful in being able to play the role of the character?
Yeah, it was actually almost like a weird healing process, because Mandy felt slightly different to how I felt. And we incorporated that in, like, so we played sisters in the storyline. And so the way she was dealing was totally opposite to the way I had been dealing with it growing up. And so it made kind of the perfect way of, like, how to be more sensitive to people who may feel something very different to how I was taught to be like, it's fine. Just brush it off. They're not being harmful or anything like that. So it really did help to kind of replay these moments in our lives and channel it through these characters that we wrote. So it was a weird healing experience.
Wow. And so you combined almost the two in order to cover different points of view and awarenesses around it. And I love the language you used about, like, awareness, and how different that is than from just a place of just a black and white point of view. So that you're just creating a space for people to receive it in a way that's just like, oh yeah, this is one way it can be.
Yeah. And it's like, it became such part of our normal lives. So then now when we had to re-speak about it, it was like, oh, okay. Now looking at it as now we're older and we're still experiencing people, asking those same questions, and like, just like little things where you're like filling out a form and it's saying, what's your ethnicity? And it'll have very blank statements of, like, Caucasian, Asian, Black or Mexican, or like, it was so specific one. And then the only box we found we could tick, because we were biracial, was other. Or then they started introducing now we'll call you ethnically ambiguous. And it's like, we can't be put in those boxes. Like, we are mixed race. So it was so interesting exploring from that angle when, as a kid, you're kind of like, oh yeah, do I tick white or do I tick Asian? Like, it's like, we don't fit into that. So it was a good topic to talk about.
Wow, I love it. And it is shedding light. And it's interesting that we're still in this reality doing that in a way that's like, with weirdly enough, a limitation. Although we know sometimes this is how this reality works.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can relate to this. I tend to not resonate with this reality. I tend to like to walk my own walk, be my own being, and challenge the boxes, so to speak.
Yes, I agree.
And that's what I sense you're doing the same thing. Like, we need to check a box to define who we are. What?
Yeah, it's weird when you try and narrow it down to that, and you just can't do that. I think we should be beyond that in society now. We are who we are.
Yeah. Well, and I can tell this film is resonating with a new possibility of what's available now than what may have never been there before. And I just sense that's, as you're talking about it, I kind of tune into energy a lot of times, and it's just like, wow, it's giving me chills, actually.
Yeah. Like, it's not meant to be, spoken about in a negative way. That's not what we wanted to, say. And there may be, slight, racial microaggressions, or the way, we've been asked certain questions about how we look and stuff, but it's not, for me personally, it wasn't about, slamming someone over the head with, like, that's not how you should ask this. It's just more educating, the differences and how people are brought up and our heritage and our backgrounds. And it should be a good conversation we can have.
Wonderful. And what I sense you're doing is creating a different reality to it rather than according to this reality, because it's according to this reality that the boxes are there. And you're like, oh, here's a way. You're even creating the film in the way that you are being it. So it's really amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited to share this when we can. So, it's definitely a relevant topic right now. So I'm excited to get it out there.
Yeah. So what did you say the next step is? You're waiting to hear back from the festival? Is that?
Yeah. So this specific festival, they want the world premiere, I guess you could call it. So if you are accepted, then they keep it until the release date. But if we're not accepted into this one, then we can start entering it into other festivals to see where it leads to.
Yeah.
But right now we're kind of in limbo, just waiting.
In the waiting mode and holding space and seeing.
Yeah.
Well, I sense it's gonna definitely land somewhere. It's already, I can tell when pieces of art and film and those kind of things, they take on a consciousness of their own. And this thing is like, whew.
Yeah, this is the baby steps, and it's going to grow into something, hopefully. So even if it doesn't make it into any festival, it's still something we can release and be proud of and have conversations with people.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there's another one.
Yes. This one was more a look at relationships, and it definitely, when we started the story, I asked a friend to help me write one about, being in a long-term relationship with someone and feeling like you're not communicating correctly, not understanding, and what the one person might be saying is being received completely opposite to the other, when truly, like, deep down, you love each other, but it's just finding the right ways to communicate that to each other. And so this one definitely grew from an original story point that merged into something else. And it's kind of the unspoken words that you don't necessarily say to your partner. So we tried to go inside each character's head and do these alternate realities of what we wish we could say to the other person. And then what's actually happening in reality is a complete opposite. And so it's the healing of another relationship within that of, once they figure out, I'm not hearing you correctly. And now I understand, and the love is there. So it was definitely an interesting take on this is what's going on in my head, and this is not what's coming out of my mouth right now. So.
Wow. Well, that's brilliant. And was it filmed in a way like that where you can almost hear both, or you get a feel?
Yes, actually, okay. We kind of, in sections, we pull out of reality, and we filmed almost like these inner monologues that were happening, but we catered it towards each character. So for the guy that played opposite me, he was kind of stuck in this sitcom world where he felt like the world was laughing at him, and everything he would say, wasn't received correctly, and he was embarrassed. Whereas in my world, I was in this perfect, built up, this is how I want to present myself, and it's all a fake facade. And it's the inner monologues of both characters were presented very differently. So you do get a look of that out of reality experience of what's happening, and then you jump back to what's really happening between the two of them.
Wow. So you captured both points of view simultaneously from where that person's coming from in their head.
Yes.
Either the world kind of, from the male point of view, in this case, it was the outside in. And for you, it was more of you showing up to the world and maybe in your own.
Yes, exactly.
Awareness. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a little tricky to figure out how to put that on screen for people to watch and not be like, that doesn't seem like that's in real time, because it's not. So I was trying to figure out the logistics of how to tell that, realizing this is all only in their head and not what they're saying to each other.
So as, because I believe you also produced it, right? And
yes.
So would that be like a producer type of awareness that you would have to take to see how that would be conveyed, or trying to figure out the right spot for that?
It was definitely a lot of discussions that the director and I had how to make this work. Even in post, we're still trying to figure out, maybe score or sound design will help, bring the audience into that separate world that's happening. So definitely, as a producer, I was thinking beforehand how we can shoot this the right way so that the audience will read exactly what we're doing. So it's been an interesting first journey of producing these two shorts. Yeah.
Amazing. So these are your first like personal productions, would you say? Or
yes, yeah.
Wow.
First ones that I've actually had the guts to go to other people and say, I have this idea, help me build this.
Wow. So, and I can hear how much creativity comes into it. And has this been something you desired to do for a number of years in terms of the production part of it?
Yes, I have always dreamt of having my own production company eventually. But I kind of thought, oh, this will just come if, your acting career gets further and then the opportunities will present itself. But realizing that while we're sitting in COVID, I do have the power to do it anyway. So, it was just me bringing something I felt passionate about to other people and seeing if they wanted to jump on board. And when you are passionate, these collaborations happen so easily because then they're like, we want to be a part of it too. So yeah, it was a good lesson for me to learn.
And kind of there's like that has so many layers to it. Like sometimes you just have to take the plunge or just go for it. Choose it and be it no matter and see what happens. And that's awesome.
Thank you.
The other thing I'm sensing about it too, even during COVID, and this is something I can relate to what you said, is that we were not meant to stop creating. It's almost like weirdly enough, this is a weird question to ask, but it's a very conscious question of what's right about COVID we're not getting. So maybe it's things like this. It's like you've created 2 productions and 2 amazing films in the midst of a pandemic. Like, what?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of figuring out the health and safety aspects of it and also people's willingness to connect during that time. But I think a lot of artists were like, we're bored, we're dying to do something creative, we want to see people, and so if we can do this safely, it was the perfect environment.
Amazing. I sense people were bored in the house bored, aka TikTok. Probably there's only so many TikTok videos you can do before you're like, oh my goodness. Like,
I know, I think it took me like all of a week and then I was like, oh, I'm out. I can't anymore.
That's so good. But I love that you were willing to be it and create it. And one thing the part that I can relate to is I ended up creating like this Dr. Sarah brand because I'm a clinical psychologist by day and doing influencing work and things through the evening, you could say. But really creating and taking the time to create a brand and doing it in the midst of a pandemic. It was almost like if I didn't have that space of it being the way it showed up, it wouldn't have come through the way it did. So I can acknowledge that's one thing we can be grateful for is in the midst of all the insanity that there's still some joy and lightness that's coming from it.
Absolutely. It almost made it clearer. Like before the pandemic hit, I would always make up an excuse like it's not the right time or I don't have the right connections. And then once sitting down alone and being like, oh, okay, I do have connections and I do have friends and I can reach out with my ideas. So it was definitely a clear vision of, all right, if not now, when? So we're going to do it.
I love that. Almost like being with yourself in the space of asking that question. And it came, and there is a timing to things. I know like having a lot of things in the works is like now the time and light or heavy. I gauge things on light or heavy. So it's almost like this was like the perfect timing for you with it.
Yeah. I mean, I took on a new job the month the pandemic hit, right on lockdown. And it just timing being in I moved to a new place that they put me up in, and it just felt like everything kind of weirdly fell into place, which is kind of odd to say in a pandemic, but for me, it was a positive outcome. So as much as, it's not normal everyday life, we're getting there soon, hopefully, but it definitely, gave me clarity and a new headspace to kind of work in.
Wow. Amazing. So, and it speaks to you as the creative you must be. And I sense that, has this been something that you've always been like very kind of out there to create and do the amazing work you're doing with TV? It was a TV and film, and I saw you, it's a slew of things, which is so amazing.
Yeah, I definitely have always, thrived in the creative world, but I never took, I guess, things into my own hands, if that makes sense. Like, I was always so willing to donate my time and my energy to other people and other projects and be a part of their work. So this is the first time it was kind of like, oh, I need to create for other people as well, not just write off other people's work. So, yeah, I've always been in that creative mind of like trying to figure out how to collaborate with others. I just didn't have, I guess, the confidence to do it by myself until now.
Wow. And what do you sense is the difference with the confidence? What do you notice with that?
Oh, good question. I never thought about it that way. And maybe just more of an ease of asking for help where needed, but also, having something to offer. And when you're confident in your ideas and what you can bring to the table, I think it helps drive, working with other people, not just, hey, I need your help, but I need you to do everything for me. Now it's like, hey, I have this amazing idea. I know you're very talented in this area. Can we work together now to build this thing? So
wow,
the confidence helped to be able to reach out to people and just ask.
Yeah, and asking and being willing to be in the driver's seat of the creation of the main kind of person, main point. And I love the language that you're using, like the ease and the clear, because that's language I use all the time too. A lot of times I look at it as like our mind tends to be where we limit ourselves. And in our mind, we have thoughts, feelings, and emotions that tend to want to block us from just being, knowing, receiving, and perceiving things, which is a lot of times where those of us who are more like, I'll refer to as like energy beings resonate. It's like our first language. And I sense you kind of resonate that way.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
That if we lose our mind, then we're good to go. Like, because the mind is what we try to navigate in this reality, and how a lot of people do function. I call them humans. From the mind, and they are kind of linear, and they do a 9 to 5, or they're kind of out to judge people and not necessarily looking for the greater good or seeking something greater. It has to be something better than this reality.
Yeah.
So I sense you're one of those energy beings that are like defying gravity. I mean, no, reality.
I love that. Yeah, but what's that saying? Like, you attract what you ask for, and it's like, if you're in that positive mindset, you're going to end up attracting people in that same mindset. So
yes, it's kind of ask, you shall receive. And when you were open to asking, and the moment you did, it wasn't like all of a sudden it started coming in, and it's like then someone's answering yes to you, and then all of a sudden it's, before you know it, you have 2 films done and produced and going to a festival.
Yeah, like one of them was kind of an idea that I had planted a long time ago before I had the confidence to actually go ahead and make it. And then they came back to me and were like, do you still want to do that idea you said a long time ago? And I was like, well, yes. And they're like, well, we've been thinking about it, and we really think we can help you get the team together to do it. So it's like planting the little seeds at the beginning that, eventually grow into something.
That's amazing. And it's so funny, as you started saying it, my face started getting flushed. Like I'm just picking up on all the like, wow. And it's such a valuable product of not only your creations, but you, like you're that. And I sense you bringing it into the world, like now's the time in the way that you're doing it, even though you graced us with many other, different films and things. It's like, this is another level.
Yeah. It's like finding your voice now. It's like, I've always kind of, loved like, taking direction and fitting into someone else's idea and working within that. And now this is the first time I'm like, oh, I might have something to say. So
yes,
how to show that, and voice it.
You know what's funny? As you're saying that, you're now no longer like checking the box for someone else. Now you're creating like your new like box-free space of being, and it's like, wow.
Yes, I've never thought of it like that. Yeah.
And it's coming through, and it's you now are. It is like a birthing of something, because there's so much just like wow, new and fun, and like even though there's things, and I get this like. That will sometimes get in the way, because I'm aware that consciousness includes everything. And if we look at consciousness as like here and now space of being, with the idea that we can create the future we desire, that it does include the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
So it's kind of like if we're willing to just kind of go with the flow and space of it and ride out the times that do get difficult, then it's just it makes it a lot easier.
It's part of the journey. Yeah, it's not going to be all, daisies and roses the whole time. It's, there is something to learn within the darker places and things that don't work.
Yes. And a lot of times if we look at it from that point of view, I love that in a way that's, okay, we're aware of what's not working. That's heavy. That's dark. Okay. Now what can we take from that and create greater from, or learn from it, or everything creates something, so it can contribute to other things.
Yep, agreed.
Is there anything, we can even segue a little bit, is there anything that you would like your audience to know about you? Anything else like that you would like to speak about, or?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, I feel like I present myself, especially on things like social media, like pretty truthfully. Like, you will see on my feed, it jumps from here's a night out with my husband or my friends to here's a lifestyle post that I've had the opportunity to collaborate with, or here is my acting work, which is, sometimes hard to maintain on social media because, we're not acting every day. In a perfect world, we would.
Yeah.
But I feel since I started this journey of producing and finding my voice, learning more how to talk about being half Chinese and half Australian has been an interesting. I guess when I was growing up, I was always taught like, no, you're Australian. That's who you are. You don't need to explain yourself. And you kind of forget that you have this whole other heritage that I never even bothered to learn about. And so now that I'm older, it's like going back and being like, okay, so I am half Chinese. I do need to learn about that, my culture in that way. And right now, it's the APA Heritage Month, and I've never quite found the words to talk to people about my experiences as a half Chinese, half Australian. And so this whole new, I shouldn't say movement, but it is more of an awareness that's happening, especially since the pandemic, and the views on not to get too political, but the views on where coronavirus started. And it's like, I'm still learning my way through how to talk about, my opinions and my perspective on this as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm still in baby steps. Like I'm not here to, get into arguments or have negative perspectives on things, but it is definitely now more eye-opening for me to be like, I need to be more of an advocate and passionate about talking about people who have the same experience as me and people who don't, and we can talk together. So
it's very fascinating. Yeah, it's very fascinating how that's mirroring even the films you've just created, where you're finding your voice and speaking to it in a new way that you have yet to speak to it. And it's exciting. And yet at the same time, I sense you're picking up on a lot of other people's points of view, because you can almost you almost sense it, like without even hearing it? You can almost pick up on where people are. You're in their heads already.
Yeah, it's a delicate topic, I guess, and not to pinpoint anything, but you can hear in me, like, I'm still not sure how to communicate well on this, but it is definitely marrying like the way I've kind of expressed it through film and in the production side to actually being able to be confident enough to speak to it in social media, maybe eventually as well, which social media to me is like amazing, but scary. Like the opportunities are there, but it's like, oh, be careful what you say and what you discuss and don't be too opinionated. And we should have opinions. So it's
kind of where those types of people we spoke about earlier, the humans versus okay. So if we're acknowledging two types, there's the human energy, and then there's there's a category with some of the tools I play with clients, and it comes from a approach or a systematic approach called access consciousness. So it's all like really cool, amazing tools, but they acknowledge, and this is where I acknowledge it, the difference between two types of functioning people in this world. Those are very human, and they tend to be a little more like judgy and out to kind of, be hater, not just that's an extreme haters, but then there's this other side that are referred to as humanoids.
I like it. Yeah.
So it's more of like, we're the ones that can see almost everyone's point of view and want to honor other people's points of view at the same time. But the people that are actually judging this are the ones stuck in their limited point of view, and they're not able to get outside of their mindset in order to just be in the space of like, wow, allowance, like you're you, I'm me, and we can be together in whatever form.
And that's okay. Yeah. It is. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Social media is a tricky one. It's like you have the power to voice your opinions and to stand up for things you believe in. But it's like at the same time, I'm definitely not one to cause a storm.
Yes.
just to do it. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm aware of similar space as well. Like I know when someone will come at me, and usually I'm just being the energy. A lot of times I'll put things out there that aren't controversial, but I'll also express it in a way that allows people to really go into question and ponder what I'm sharing. And I've had people, when they come in at me and judge me, I'm like, a lot of times they don't know what to do with it, because I'll respond back with, wow, thank you so much for sharing your point of view. And thank you for your judgment. And what else is possible now?
Yeah. I mean, it is a reflection on them and how they're feeling if they're going to attack. So,
yes,
it's not on you. All you can do is just say, thank you for your opinion, I guess, or, stand up for yourself if it's warranted.
Exactly. And I love your voice to this. So I say, do more. You can be like in a space of being potent without having to almost feel like you're offending, because I sense everything you're sharing and being, it's like, it's really what this world requires. Those of us who are willing to put ourselves out there and be the light in the midst of the darkness. I sense it's such a beautiful gift that you're bringing in and being it. So I say, go for it.
Thank you. Yeah. Hope I'm doing it the right way.
Yes. Well, you'll be the one erring on the side of caution. The people that aren't are the ones that are just like the trolls and the trackers anyways, which are the ones you're trying to not be like, which would be impossible for you to be like.
Yeah, no, it's not. I feel like it's not in my nature or my soul to be like that.
No, not at all. So are you, I sense like where you're being you, it's like all these things are part of you, but you're just this beautiful combination of all these things. And is that kind of what you're looking to kind of bring into the world too? The mixture of all of it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like that age old question, like, who are you? Who really are you? And it's like, I want to just be authentic, like, and just whatever I do is just an extension of who I am and what I believe in and what I care about. And it's just just trying to be within that, just, really walk the talk, I guess. And I am what I am. And so I just hope that the way that I am presenting all of the new things I'm creating, and it's whether it be through social media or film and television or any sort of art, it's like, oh, that's Sam. That's who she is.
That's you. Yeah. So with social media, what areas do you dabble in? It's Instagram. Do you play with other platforms?
Not really, actually. Like I said, I was on TikTok for maybe a week. And then I was like, oh no, that's so overwhelming for me. I definitely struggle a little bit with, video content. So that whole platform was interesting. Like, it was interesting to watch, but I never felt like I wanted to share from my perspective. Whereas Instagram is definitely my main social media handle. And for Twitter, I read, but I don't ever tweet. I just kind of stay up on, world events or social events just to, see what's going on. And then the whole new Clubhouse platform. I'm definitely more of a listener right now and just observing where this is going. But I do use it daily. I just, haven't really spoken to it much.
Yeah, you're getting the lay of the land of it in a way. That's actually a new platform for me too. I'm more of a listener as well, but
yeah, I like to absorb it all and just, take what I need from little rooms and bits here and there. So it's a definitely interesting platform, especially when things get heated or opinionated.
Oh, I haven't crossed that yet, but I can imagine.
Yeah. I've definitely heard people, completely shut down a room before. So it's like, okay, that, take it or leave it. It is what it is. So I just bounce around and see what's interesting at that time and what I can use to help benefit me, I guess.
Yeah, I love it. And just dabble in it all. And Twitter is something, it's a lot to keep up with once you start doing.
I feel like it's dangerous. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if we need to tweet everything we want to say.
Yes, I so agree.
Yeah.
Wow. This is I'm so enjoying this conversation, and I'm so excited by everything you're creating. Is there anything that you would like to share in terms of any work you've done previously, or anything that stands out to you with that? Or and if not, there's something else. I have another question for you.
Okay. Well, if you're into sci-fi action films,
yeah.
You can catch me in a supporting role on Netflix. It's called Beyond Skyline. And then the third movie in the sequel, Skylines, came out. It's also on Netflix. So I do a little baby cameo role in that one as well. But that film is very special to me, actually. It's the reason I ended up coming to America to live and make this my permanent home. So that's my baby, that film. That was my into Hollywood, I guess.
Wow. So how did that come about? What led you to that, or what got you there?
So at the time I was living in Singapore. I had been up there for about 4 years. I had done my bachelor's in musical theater, and then I just continued living there because the work was coming in. And I got a phone call saying, would you like to be a stand-in on this American film that's, filming out in Indonesia? And I was like, sure, I don't know what that means, but I will try. And they called me back and they were like, you're not the right, height and size for the girl that you'd be standing in for. However, we'd like you to come in and read for a role instead. And I was like, well, sure, I'd love to, figure out how to branch into film and television from my stage career. And so I sent in a tape, and I got a call within that next week. And they were like, we need you to fly back out to Indonesia. I was actually home for a Christmas vacation at the time. And so within a week, I flew back out and started filming. And at first it was like, you have one scene with the lead character and that's it. And then they call me back 3 more times, which I started filming in LA. And it was like this whole journey of like this tiny role kind of expanding into this slightly bigger role. And so it was like very eye-opening. It was the first time I'd ever been on a professional set, besides, well, I'd been on some commercial sets, but this is like a whole different beast. It was, they created the whole sci-fi world. They built like tunnels, there was green screen, there was mud, there was like alien suits. It was incredible. So wow. I got very lucky just segueing into that, just from a random phone call, just saying, could you be a stand-in? Oh, wait, audition now. So
wow. That's great. It's not just a story, but that's a beautiful example of following your knowing, like taking that leap, taking a chance and putting yourself out there and just doing it like no anyway, or just even
I remember when I found out, when I got the phone call, I was actually coming out of a movie with my parents, because I'd only, had a week at home. So we were having, family time, and we were coming out of this movie cinema. And I got the call, and I just remember bursting into tears. And my mom was like, "What's wrong?" And she was like, "Oh, wait, this is good tears. You look like you're like laugh crying." And I was like, I just got cast in an American film. And then my dad was crying, my mom was crying, we're all crying, and all these people were like around us being like, "Is everything okay?" And we're like, "Yes." This is the best news. So I vividly remember this happening to me. So it was a life-changing experience. Now I got the bug. I can't leave it.
Oh my gosh. And you got a dose of it. You're like, more, please.
Yes. I was like, I need to be in every action film and be a movie star.
Oh, well, you definitely resonate that way. Like you're so light and joy, and like, it's almost like, even though you're playing parts, I can tell like you just are such a contribution to the field. Like
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's so nice to know that there are beings like you creating these things there. And I love hearing, it's kind of like the backstory, behind the scenes story of it.
Yeah. No, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know you mentioned a little different part of your world or your life is, I noticed you said something about fitness, and I did see something on your Instagram just recently about meditation. And is there anything you would like to speak to on either of those points?
Yeah. So I've always been in and out with fitness, because before I became an actor, I guess, I was a full-time dancer. So fitness was a huge part of my life. I would dance, 7 days a week, nonstop, growing up. And so now fitness is a big part of like keeping my health up and my mental health up. It just, it all becomes one. And so when I was fighting the meditation apps and all of that kind of stuff for a while, and now I realize how much we really need to take you time and focus and just slow down from everything and take a moment from work or social media and have a decent workout and have a time to meditate. And even if it's not, an hour-long guided meditation or whatever, it could just be a 5-minute in, just to like center yourself again and just focus on, your needs at that time and just slow your brain down. I found a lot during the pandemic that I wasn't sleeping very well. I was constantly like, what can I do? What can I do? I need to do something more. And I couldn't shut my brain off. And so I had dabbled in a few meditation apps just to try and, just find my calm, find my chi. And it really does help. Like it really does focus exactly where you need to be. And so I'm obsessed with the Peloton app right now as well.
Oh, wow. That's my fitness. That's your fun time.
Yeah, it's definitely, health and mental health is very important to me, and just finding a way to, eat healthy and just do maybe a 20-minute workout. It doesn't have to be a long one. I'm not here to be, a fitness buff or anything. I just want to make sure I'm, capable to do my day-to-day work and get on a film set when I'm got the opportunity and show up happy for other people.
Yes, I love that. And when you speak about this idea of centering, and a lot of times I'm aware too, when we're in that space, from there, everything can be created. It's almost if we're not tuning in and getting clear and being present in a way that allows us to see things clearly. And I hear that this is what the meditation as well as the fitness, like it's time to be just in your own space.
And it teaches you a lot about yourself. It's like, for the longest time, I remember fighting the whole meditation thing. I was like, I'm not into it with like the whole yoga stance, or like, I even actually took a trip to Cambodia to do a meditation like trip. Wow. And I was struggling the whole time with it. And I was like, I just don't know how to sit still. This feels like a waste of time. And now I've fully grown into understanding why we need to do this. And, you know, like I said, it doesn't have to be long. It's just a moment to understand yourself.
And you know what it is? It is like a muscle, and kind of if we do defer to yoga, it's like a practice. It's something that when you build it and or when you find yourself, and it's like a cumulative effect. So as you clear out, and however you do meditation, because I know that the part of the brain we're basically clearing is the GABA, the gamma area of the brain. So it allows us to have more space and focus and concentration. But there is a sense from my awareness that, especially where you're at now, it's like you don't probably need that long because you're clear most of the time until you require doing some more. Yeah. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me personally, yes. Like it does. I don't need, you know, hours on end to do that. It's like just a quick tap in, just to be like, okay, I can breathe through this if it's an issue of something that's happening in my day, or I'm getting a bit of a headache. I need to, like, you know, slow my mind, close my eyes for 5 minutes and just take that time just to breathe again. So it doesn't require a lot. It's just, for some reason we all think, oh, meditation, it's such a long thing we need to like learn to do. And it's like, no, it can be simple. It can be what you want it to be.
Yeah. It's almost this topic of actually when we create it according to what works for us, we're more likely to choose it regularly too. So you found your little areas, not little, but niches that actually work for you regarding the fitness and the meditation. And it's nice to have that there. And it's just like picking and choosing. Now it's a choice rather than a have to or supposed to. Because I know we're designed, if you have to do something, I don't know about you, I'm like, no. I'm not.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm like, this is now more of a habit and a healthy, because it was a choice, and now it's just like, okay, no, I want to do this because I know I need to do it.
Yes, it's like a nice combination, and like by choosing it regularly, you get to reap the benefits from what it's creating.
Yeah, it really helps, like just like affirmations, and it helps you manifest like your dreams and your goals, and like channeling of like putting it maybe down on paper quickly, or just planting that seed in the back of your mind just for later. It's still a journey. It's a process. And sometimes I'm definitely like, oh, okay, so I have to, but you always feel better after it.
Did you find that some of your recent creations came from a place of when you were meditating, or from when you were even working out, or like those moments that coming in of creative ideas?
Yeah, definitely, like through the workouts as well. Like sometimes like I'm like, oh, like I'll see like an incredible like a female action star in a film, like Charlize Theron in like Old Guard, and I was like, oh gosh, like look how much fitness is a part of that kind of role, and so like it'll motivate me to do something like inspired by that, or like meditation like helped me kind of find, like I always have like these bouncing around ideas in my head of like, oh, what if we did this for a film, or what if we could do this, or imagine if we had the money to make this, and then like sitting down and finding the simplest way to use that thought definitely was because doing a little bit of meditation just to like think it through clearly.
I love it. And how it almost is like downloaded to you, like you're receiving it from whatever source of creation or whatever you want to call it, universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Us creatives, there's always something going on. It's just how do we channel it?
Exactly. And when it comes into actualization, you're like, wow, so we can manifest it, and then you take action. And that's something you've done in a way where you've manifested things before, but you took action in these last, like with the film. So like, that's really cool, because we can manifest all day long, but until we actually take the steps to do it, it's not going to come into form.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it is that tricky line of like, you tell yourself, I'm going to do this one day, and then the one day never happens. And so it's like, you commit, just gotta dive in. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Just go on to the next thing.
Exactly. And were you referring to early, like with the social media, where it's almost designed sometimes, well, we know it's set up on algorithms, but I know like some platforms, even Instagram, that it's kind of like keeping with one niche, but at the same time, it's like, I sense you're looking to include all your different areas that you enjoy as part of it. Has that been kind of something that has showed up as challenging, or
very challenging, actually? Because it's like, I know on my page, you'll see different elements of my life, and it's not very, I guess, consistent in terms of like, you can clearly see like a fashion blogger or, a skincare person or a travel style page or, a mental health page. Like for mine, I feel like I was always bouncing around to like, I really enjoy this product, to, I'm out, doing something creative, or here is me one day on set, or I booked a job. And then it was just like, I never figured out quite a way to like kind of have a consistency in my profile. But I also now I'm thinking, this is true honesty on my page. So maybe this is okay. It doesn't have to be like a very curated, here's the same color scheme, here's like my exact style of how to shoot a product or whatever. Like, I don't know. I know consistency helps. But for me, like, it's not like I'm acting every day. So I can't be like on set again, or like just have an acting profile. So yeah, it's been a challenge to kind of keep the audience interested, even though I am bouncing from topic to topic.
Well, you know what? This is fascinating. This like brings us full circle to the beginning of the show, where like checking the box, that's not how you roll. Like
no.
you're all about being outside of the box and be like, here are all my different boxes on Instagram.
Yeah.
From which you don't ascribe to one, which how does it get any better? That is your niche. You don't ascribe to anything, and you can be everything. Maybe that's, I sense that's the direction you're going.
Yeah. I used to be so worried. I'd be like, maybe I've like, tried to push too many things in this direction at one time, or like I've done too many modeling posts, like people are going to be bored of that. And then I was like, I don't know if it matters. Like a lot of people now you see in like, your inbox or your comments, they're like, thanks for sharing that. Like that was really helpful. Or I'd love to use that, products you're trying, like I'm going to use your code. So it's like, I've always had genuine feedback. So that's, at least nice to know that people are kind of following my journey of bouncing around to like, this is just my life. This is just what's happening. So
yeah. I can tell when I went on, like just seeing you like lights me up and lights others up. And that's what I would say makes a true influencer and or person who's looking to contribute to people, is that just seeing you is all it takes.
Yeah. Not overthinking everything too much. Like, in a perfect world, I guess I wish, I would have better photography skills and better coloring skills, and captions are a nightmare sometimes. But, I've just learned, like, just tell the truth, like, especially when I talk about skincare products or like the meditation app I used or the fitness stuff I go through. It's like, yeah, this is actually me trying this right now and it's working. So
it's very authentic and real and relatable. And that's definitely what I sense people are looking for, and your audience will resonate with, and they do resonate with you. And just it's just like your humility and yet your confidence, it exudes. I want to acknowledge you for that. And I'm really grateful for what you're creating and being. And it's like, wow, wonder what else is possible, which is a question I always like to live in. It's like, what else is possible now?
Possible.
And then yeah.
Yeah. What next?
What next? Yeah.
And it's exciting.
So exciting. And the universe is always like open to when we ask a conscious question like that, like a what question. And another great question to ask is, how's it getting any better than this? Because the universe will be like, I'll show you.
Yep. Just be patient. Yeah. Yeah. Patience. That's been a big learning one. Just since whole last year, you can't always control and make something happen. Just patience is key.
It is. And it's one of the hardest things for us, like, again, the ones that are always at the speed of space, basically, movement is, and that's where meditation, almost having space and ease, it's like, we're always running around creating. So. Yes. Wow. Well, is there anything else before we finish up? Our time flew by. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it's good. Wow. We've talked for an hour already? Wow.
We're close to an hour. Yeah. It's really flown by.
Yes. It's been fun. Thank you.
Yes. It's been so much fun for me too. And is there anything that you would like the audience to leave with, or anything that you're doing or coming up to that you would like to share or promote or anything? I'd love for you to share if you like.
Yeah, I just coming back and trusting yourself. I think that was a big lesson I learned in this last year, and I feel like everything we need is already kind of inside of us, and it's already living, and just, it sounds so cheesy, but like honestly, like you're following your dreams. Just let that come out naturally and manifest, and believe that you have it already. All the tools are here for you, and so just trusting that the journey is what it is, and when the timing is right, people are there to help you, and you need to just be confident in yourself. Like, if you have something to say, then your time will come to say it. So I just feel like, the trust yourself is like kind of what I want to let everyone know. It's like something amazing is going to happen for you, and your time will come.
Oh, I love that. Trust the process, trust yourself. Yeah. And you're a perfect example of that, and where you persevered and created, and how it actualizes into form literally as we speak.
Yeah. I feel like I'm saying this from a place of like someone who always was like I'm still a perfectionist, I guess. And I love to like make sure I'm doing everything right and doing it right for other people. And it's like, when you peel it all back, it's coming from a place of passion, and learning to just trust yourself is just the best part of that. So yeah, just let the journey be. It's fun.
Let the journey be. And I think that's probably a perfect thing to go ahead and finish up on. But I would love for you to come back on the show if you would be open to that at some point.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. Yeah. We can chat some more.
Yes. Explore more in the next adventure you're going to be on, and all your creations and yeah, seriously, what else is possible now?
Yeah. Oh, I have many things circling in my head. So we'll see where I get.
Yay. I will stand by. I'll be one of your biggest fans. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And we'll see you. We'll see you soon in the world.
Yeah, see you on the next one.
Right.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today. And be sure to join us next time for more conversations and insights into some of your favorite influencers. Now, don't forget to join me, Dr. Sarah, anywhere I'm on social media. And always, always, always remember that I have your back.